Let's continue our conversation with Bob Walker, the former Pennsylvania Congressman and the former chairman of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Bob, we're hearing this, "I'm not a scientist," from a lot of Republican candidates and elected officials. It's kind of like that old joke about the Southern politician: some of my friends are for it, some of my friends are against it. I'm going to side with my friends. When you hear this kind of, hey, let's wait and see, is that a necessity on the campaign trail given the perceptions that are out there?
Well, I've always believed that what you ought to do is follow the science. The fact is that there are a lot of good scientists now who are raising questions, and the policy issue here is one of, is the science settled? All of the liberals who have backed having massive involvement by the government in the whole subject of climate and therefore the economics of it have suggested that the science is settled. What we now know is that the science is not settled. Even if you read the IPCC report, the International Partnership on Climate Change, if you actually look at the real science in the back of the report, the science does not fit what the politics in the front of the report says. The science, for instance, narrows the temperature ranges that they think that we might see over the next few years. The fact is that those narrowed temperature ranges are within normal conditions. And so you don't have to be a scientist in order to look at the science and say that what the liberals have been saying about the science just doesn't hold water.
It's been interesting to watch the politics of this policy issue, not only for candidates. We mentioned this before, but the Weather Channel ended up amidst this debate. Its co-founder, John Coleman, made comments denying the existence of man-made climate change. And now the Weather Channel, I guess in response to some pressure, came out with its own statement saying the climate of the Earth is warming and that humans are mostly to blame. What is this? The Weather Channel feeling the political heat from the Obama crowd?
Well, I think there's been a lot of political heat on this issue, and it has kept people from looking beyond some of the polemics that have surrounded the issue, and that's a shame, because I happen to believe that climate is something that we should be looking at. But if the science doesn't come to the conclusions that the politicians want, then what they do is they try to pressure people into saying things that just don't fit the science. And the issue here is, the more we have learned about the climate, the more we have learned how complex it is, and that there is no one factor that is probably influencing what's going on. Do humans have a contribution? Yeah, but it may be a fairly minor contribution. The fact that the climate of the Earth, the greenhouse gases, are 95% water vapor, probably has a bigger thing to do with climate change than any contribution of carbon dioxide.
Bob, in the about a minute and a half that remains, let's get back to politics, and maybe we can borrow a phrase from so-called global warming. Are the Democrats in meltdown? Are they in panic heading into next Tuesday?
Yeah, they're in panic, particularly in the blue states. I mean, they see the whole thing beginning to come apart on them, and they've had to throw all kinds of money into defending their own people. You know, it's just not a red state issue now, it's become a blue state issue.
And with this panic, there's been a lot of concern about voter fraud. What is your take on that? Got about a minute left.
Well, I'm concerned by some of these voting machine irregularities. They're saying that they're just glitches, but the software seems to be recording Democratic votes even when people punch the button for Republicans. Those kinds of things I have a concern about, and it's one of the reasons why we need to be very vigilant about fraud.
Yeah, there's no truth to the rumor that's part of a computer program called Boss Tweed 2.0. Is there nothing like that, right, Bob?
Nothing like that.
Your prediction, you heard an interesting prediction from one of our colleagues on the left today. Your final take on the Senate. We've got 30 seconds.
I was in a meeting this morning where Chris Matthews of MSNBC's Hardball said he thought the Democrats could pick up as many as 10 Senate seats. I think that's a little heavy. I think it's more like 7 to 8 that we have a real shot at. but I thought it was fascinating that he thought that the momentum was that direction.
So, wow. 10 Republican seats according to Chris Matthews, 7 or 8 according to Bob Walker. Bob, we'll have you back real soon. Thanks so much for your time here on America's Forum.